So let's go from Brittany now to bullies. With just a few weeks of summer left, a lot of kids are already getting the back-to-school jitters.
According to a new study from Finland just released in the journal Pediatrics, they and their parents have a good reason to be afraid. Watch this. Bullies. They haunt playgrounds and classrooms all across this country. But pushing, shoving, and name-calling aren't just childhood annoyances anymore. A surprising new study from Finland reveals victims of bullies are more likely to suffer mental health disorders later in life. Many diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder and severe anxiety years past their initial victimization. And this is a huge problem, considering bullying affects more than 5 million elementary and middle school kids every year. Almost 30% of U.S. students reported having been bullied in just the last 6 months alone. The consequences are well known in this country. Columbine shooters Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold and Virginia Tech gunman Cho Sung-Hui all claim to have been victims of bullying. In fact, 20% of all school-associated killers are believed to have been bullied. So now the question becomes, how do we stop the problem, and how do we help victims of bullying before it's too late?
Well, let's talk about this. With us today is bullying victim Timothy Harsh and his mom sitting right next to him, Tanya Huff.
Also with us is psychologist and bullying expert, Dr. Susan Lipkin. Thanks all for joining us. Timmy, we're going to start with you. You were friends with this guy, and all of a sudden one day he turns on you.
Yeah.
What's the story? What happened?
Well, when we first moved down to West Virginia and everything, well, we was new school and everything, started middle school and everything. And then, well, it was during the summertime, we was friends, you know, we talked to each other, played against each other, and everything. And then once school started and everything else like that, he just started picking on me, started saying things, calling me names. And
was he a popular guy at the school?
Yes, he was.
Athlete?
Yeah, football player.
Were you on the team?
No, I wouldn't play sports.
So you guys live near each other?
Yes, we were neighbors.
Well, how did he start to, what was the harassment about? How did it happen?
He started like name calling at first, and you know, I overlooked it because I mean, you know, just playing around at first. But then after it just kept on going on, and he wouldn't stop. I asked him to, and then it just kept on going on. And then that's when I tried to go to teachers and file harassment papers at our school and everything, because then you can. It goes to board education, go on a record, and
he
everything.
would do this in front of the other students?
Yeah,
try to get them involved too?
Yeah, and he has friends that would help out or cover for him. And
what would they say to you?
like name calling wise, he would call me like gay, faggot, things like that, queer, trash man, dumpster boy. 'Cause I worked in the cafeteria at that time.
And he also, you were working in the cafeteria at the school, and he was trying to get you in trouble with the people that work at the cafeterias, and you lose your job.
Yeah, I lose my job.
God, it's heartbreaking, Mom, isn't it? It just makes me so mad as a parent.
Yeah.
Is that what your reaction is? Anger?
First, it's trying to be understanding, okay? Kids, not all kids are going to get along. Then when it persists and you go to the teachers and you're talking to the principal and then you're going to the board of education and nothing's been done, that's when it turns to anger, because you feel like your hands are tied and you're watching your child get hurt and bullied and pushed around, and even by the school board was doing it.
What's the school board saying to you? What are the teachers saying when you go there and you're showing this concern?
It's solved. I said, it's not solved or I wouldn't be here again.
How did they say they were solving it? They talked to the guy?
They talked to the kids.
But he didn't stop.
No, it didn't stop. I even went in, I took him to the doctor, his blood pressure's sky high.
Oh, yeah.
Next day, I got the phone call. He said, Mom, I'm going to lose it, I'm going to lose it. I said, no, just stay, put him on way, have your principal call me. He wouldn't call me.
What was it? Your mom is kind of describing your blood pressure. I mean, for any of us out there who've been bullied before, you had this constant feeling of like stress, and I can understand how your blood pressure would be way up. But explain kind of how you were feeling.
Well, at that time I was like not feeling very well. Like no one was on my side or anything. Like everybody was against me, because every time I tried to go to the principal or something, they wouldn't do anything for me. The counselors, I'd try to talk to them, and they would help me out just by filing papers is all they could do. Was
it hard to have other friends? Were they, because the other friends were worried about?
Yeah, then they would try to help out and everything. And then they would end up getting it themselves.
Bullied too.
Yeah, and then when we went to the principal's office, they always got all of our friends and everything else like us, they would always get us in the office, but they never called them to in the office.
Yeah. It always makes it's so irritating. But I get really mad at the parents of bullies too. I wouldn't doubt that they're bullies to begin with. Did you talk to this kid's parents?
I talked to the father one time, and he looked at me and he said, "Boys will be boys."
Oh, please.
That was his answer.
All right, so it's the summer now.
Yeah.
And you're going to be heading back to school.
Oh, in a few days.
Is this guy going to be around?
Yeah, he's in the same grade I am.
What do you think is going to happen?
It's probably going to stir back up again because he didn't make the football team.
He didn't make the football team?
Nope, not this year he didn't.
So you think that he's going to...
That's bloody.
People are happy about that. Yeah. So you think... Why do you think it's going to get... Do you think it's going to get worse for you?
Yeah, because when he don't make into the teams or he loses and stuff like that, he always gets really upset, aggressive, and takes it out on other students. And mainly I'm one of the ones.
Oh my God.
Doctor, doesn't this kid understand? Why do kids do this? I mean, this is a perfect example. This kid doesn't make the football team, so now he's got to pick on somebody.
Right.
Why would a kid do that? They must be very insecure.
Well, typically bullies take advantage of the situation and look around and smell anybody who they feel is vulnerable. Timothy was vulnerable. He was new. You know, he came into the school a couple of years ago. Secondly, they need to get their own anger out, the bully, and so they take it out and embed it into the victim. So then the victim is full of anger and rage, which eventually can turn into suicide or homicide.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, these cases of school shootings, Tanya, are you worried that your son may get so angry that could happen?
Yeah, I even went to the principal and said, he's telling me he's going to go off. He can't handle it anymore. He's going to lose it. He's going to fight the kid because he's tired of the nonsense. And he said, well, he's got to suffer the consequences. That was the principal's answer.
He's got to suffer the consequences. Who is this guy?
No, frequently that's what happens. The schools say that both the bully and the victim will suffer the consequences, but what they're not doing is they're not intervening and giving counseling to both the bully and the victim, and therefore they're condoning the behavior and empowering the bully.
Tim, do you have any of those thoughts of taking it out on schoolmates or going into the school?
I have had that first class, guys. They wouldn't do anything about it, and towards the end of the school year, it kept getting worse and worse, and it just put more on me.
Does it go through your head? Are those ideas?
Not some of them, but like got upset. I was going to take it out on the kid that kept on doing it to me and everything. Sucking.
What do you think? I mean, if people are going to see this television show, they're going to know that you did this.
Yeah.
What do you think the reaction will be?
I don't know yet.
What grade are you going to be in?
Ninth.
Ninth grade. So you're a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
On the flip side, though, people who have been victims of bullies sometimes prosper later on in life. Sometimes, you know, it sort of builds a character. It sort of builds strength.
Well,
how can a kid turn that
around
into a positive?
There are actually something called stress inoculations, and so if you have stress at younger years, you learn how to deal with it. And sometimes kids can turn lemons into lemonade, as we have an example in this.
What can you tell Timothy to try to make that happen for him? Because I just looked at him and I said, I was bullied by the junior girls at Briarcliff High School, and I'd name names because I remember you. Yeah. But it was horrible. It was so stressful and overwhelming. Every day I went home and I was crying constantly, and pictures up on my locker with my face punched out, you know, pencil. But I tried to turn it. I mean, you know, as a kid can do, you try to turn it into something where you feel stronger later on.
I think the first thing is for them to understand that they have equal rights. That the bully is trying to imbalance the situation, but you have equal rights, and you have to protect and defend your own space. The second is for the school and the parents to recognize that what's happening is really true and validate it. Then they have to intervene. There have to be many, you know, levels of intervention by the school to change the dynamics.
And you got to do it before it's too late, because well, joining us from Burlington, Vermont is John Halligan, whose son Ryan suffered at the hand of a bully for 2 years before his son took his own life at just 13 years of age. And John, thank you for being with us. When did the bullying start for your son?
For my son, the bullying started up around 5th grade.
And what was happening?
Well, my son was a very kind, sweet, sensitive young man, but he had some learning disabilities, and he was not naturally an athlete, and he started to get bullied about that in that time frame.
About his learning disabilities?
Yes.
So they saw that weakness and went after him?
Yes, they did.
And in 7th grade, things really got bad for him.
Yeah, well, things got better, and then they got really bad. But in the 7th grade, we thought we had this moment in time, which was like the Karate Kid movie. I taught my son about self-defense. I taught him how to stand up for himself. And he had that moment. He had a fight with the kid in a park, and everything started to get better from that point on.
And then he even actually befriended this then former bully after the fight, right?
That's correct.
But, well, that is sort of
For a little
ended up,
while.
yeah, haunting him. What happened?
Well, what happened, and this is what we found out after his death, it was too late. While he was friends with this kid, he told him something personal, and this kid used the information and spread rumors around the school that my son was gay.
It's always
That seems to be the thing that all these little bullies like to do.
And didn't they, there was a
Right.
girl that got involved too, who pretended to be your son's girlfriend?
Right.
And
Well,
then-
a lot of this bullying that went on went on the internet. And
Oh,
part of my son's way of dealing with it was he approached one of the pretty popular girls online during the summer before 8th grade started up. And I know my son so well, he was thinking if he can get something going with her, then this rumor would go away.
Yeah.
But he didn't realize that she pretended to like him, and she put up a front online, and she not only did that.
Did she put his emails out on the internet so everybody could see it, his classmates could see it?
Yeah, while they were having very personal, private, instant message conversations, she was copy and pasting those and sharing them with her friends at school, online and on bulletin
And then,
boards.
of course, all the kids were laughing about it behind his back and calling him a loser.
Right, exactly.
And he found out.
He found out within the first few weeks of coming back to school, and he died about 6 weeks into the 8th grade school year.
Oh my gosh, John, I mean, I don't even know what to say to him, my God.
Yeah.
Is there something you think you could have done? I mean, give some advice to parents out there.
Well, one of my biggest regrets is along the way, when we had that time frame in 7th grade when we started to teach them how to fight, you know, part of my solution back then was, Ryan, let's go to the school and let's have it out with them. Let's have them put an end to this. He begged me not to do that. He said, Dad, if you go to that school, this will only get worse.
Doctor, do you find that? Do you find that that's the case? Does it get worse if you confront?
Absolutely.
It doesn't necessarily get worse. It depends on how the school system deals with it. In some cases,
Right.
they're very aware and they're helpful, and in other cases, they're not. It's a matter of validating the feelings that the victim is having.
John, did
And
you...
right, that's the crux of the problem. You have so many schools where some know what to do. They've been trained, they're taking this serious, but there are often too many times schools that are being run by people who have no idea how to deal with this issue appropriately. And they use stupid things like conflict resolution or peer mediation to address a problem that has nothing to do with a conflict, really. This is about abusive behavior. This is about taking advantage of an imbalance of power. And the other key point I want to make is this is not just about the victim and the bully, but it's also about the bystanders.
Oh,
It's
sure.
about the kids that stand around and let this happen. And they've got to be part of the solution as well.
Boy, I'm so glad we did this just a few days before school starts again. John, thank you so much for telling your story.
Thank you.
And,
Thank all of you.
Timothy, good luck at school. Now, this happens to girls, too, and if you want to check our website after the show, we have a story about a young woman who's in our audience who's being bullied. So it happens to girls, too. There are mean girls out there. So watch for that at imandjshow.com.
We'll be back in just 90 seconds. Stay with us.